let's try this again. There was an interruption in the last video. So, last week we thought the spoilers were officially starting for Shadows over Innistrad. Turns out it was just kind of like well, I'm going to show off the mechanics and yeah, wait one more week for the actual spoilers. So, which is weird because they usually do that at the beginning of spoiler week. Don't know why. Maybe it's because, honestly, I think the reason they they bumped that up is because of the leaked pack that was floating around line that, yes, I did a video on. Oh no. I was like, yeah, you're part of the problem. No, the part of the problem is the people who spoil the pack and who are dirtbags enough to actually spoil that. It's out, people are going to see it anyway, so you might as well talk about it and try to get the hype up even more. In some instances, that kind of spoilage is actually very good for the actual set to get hype going. So really, chill out on that. But anyway, so yes, it's the official spoiler week, and we got cards to spoil and talk about. And might as well start with the headliner, Nahiri, the Harbinger. Now, she is what we thought she was, what a lot of us were speculating. She is a white-red planeswalker, 2 generic, 1 white, 1 red with 4 loyalty. She has a her plus is a +2. You may discard a card and then draw a card. So right there, Madness Enabler, great for drawing, great for sifting through your deck. Madness Enabler, you don't even have to spend anything to pay the madness cost to discard it, like discard effects, just boom, madness, pay the effect, good to go. -2 ability, exile target enchantment, or tapped artifact, or tapped creature. So, that one, it's a good effect, but it's a situational effect. Enchantment, that's fine, you can just get rid of enchantment, but tapped artifact or a creature, that implies that the creature needs to basically be tapped at that point, and well, that's good, and you're certain to get it off, or at least once or twice. Excuse me. It's still, it's one of those things where you probably want to play her after your opponent's like attacked or gone into something, and if it's a creature card that you really want out of the way, then get rid of it. So then her -8, her ultimate ability, which implies and means that in just 2 turns you can get to the ultimate level. That's a stupid way of saying it. In 2 turns you can get to the amount of counters needed to get off her ultimate, and then 3rd turn get her ultimate off, which actually is pretty good. Search your library for an artifact or creature card, put that into the battlefield. Shuffle your library, it gains haste, and you return it to your hand at the end step of that turn. So, or at the beginning of the next end step. So, that's pretty good. That's a solid search to, what was it, like a tooth and nail. Basically just search, go, put it in the battlefield, and if the creature's still alive, which I'm assuming you're getting a big meaty creature to swing in, or creature with a bombastic effect, to swing in and hit and get whatever effect or damage off. If it lives, turn to your hand, do shenanigans again at a later point in time. So, she's a good, solid card all around. I can easily see shenanigans, say with like Avacyn, Archangel Avacyn, and then transforms into Avacyn the Purifier, assuming that there are cards that let you just transform. If you recall, Moonmist was in the original Innistrad, which transformed all werewolves. They didn't transform anything else, just all werewolves. And I'm wondering, because they did say there's going to be there's going to be more of an emphasis on double-sided face cards. I mean, we have more in this set than we did in the last sets, that's for certain. So, I'm wondering if we are going to, in fact, have cards that trigger transform in general, because if that's the case, you can, assuming that she is still technically the same creature, she'll return to the battlefield, or return to your hand at the end of the turn. You could bring her onto the battlefield, transform her, swing in, and then return to your hand, get that basically Wrath effect twice, or the Wrath of the Gods. I think it's Anger of the Gods. Anger of the Gods effect twice, which would be extremely useful. But what the real interesting thing is here, and when I was talking about in the last video, is that I no longer know what the roster for Planeswalkers in this set is going to be, in this entire block is. I originally thought that it was going to be basically our new Werewolf Planeswalker, Arlen Cord, Jace, Nahiri, Jace and Sorin, and then the next set would be Nahiri and Liliana. As many people have pointed out, Tamiyo is also showing up in the set, and Tamiyo's in the set, Sorin's in the set, Lyria or in the block. So right there, if you want to count that, that means Nahiri, Jace, Tamiyo, Sorin, Arlen, Liliana. That's 6 Planeswalkers. Now, grant this is a larger set than Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch, both in its large set in comparison and small set in comparison. Both small is the small set Eldritch Moon is bigger than Oath of the Gatewatch, and Innistrad is bigger than Battle for Zendikar. But with that being said, it's a good example to show that. It's good. Sorry, Battle for Zendikar. Jace was a very prevalent figure in the storyline. Didn't get a card in Battle for Zendikar. So just because you see Planeswalkers show up in the storyline, we see the art for it, does not mean that they are getting a card. If I were to really just go out on a limb there, I'm probably going to say that Tamiyo does not get a card. The rest of them, however, because Liliana is present on the Eldritch Moon box art, yeah, she's getting a card. Jace is getting a card because he's a prevalent figure on the box art, so he's getting a card. I would say also Sorin is getting a card, more than likely. But, and Ugin was in the last set. It was actually in the storyline for the last set, too. He didn't get a card, so just because a Planeswalker's there does not mean they get a card. See, at this point now, Nahiri being in the first set throws off my entire theory of who's going to be in this set, who's going to be in the next set. For all I know, maybe they will actually pull 6 Planeswalkers out of their ass. Who knows? But at the moment, and I don't see Sorin being in the second set with Liliana, because that's 2 black Planeswalkers in the same set. And while you could make the argument that Garrick and Liliana were technically 2 black Planeswalkers in the original Innistrad. Garrick started off as a green Planeswalker with a green mana cost, where Liliana was a pure black Planeswalker. He just happened to turn into a black Planeswalker later on. So, again, who I have. I have a copy of like almost all the Planeswalkers, at least one form of all the Planeswalkers. Hi, baby! Hello, Domino! Oh, kisses! Yeah, I have like a copy of nearly all the Planeswalkers in at least one form or another, save for a couple like no bite, save for Ajani, which I did at one point, but I gave that away as a gift to someone. Ugin I don't have, and a couple others that stand. Like Koth I don't have, Gideon I don't have. I do have a copy of Gideon. I have the Gatewatch copy of him. Nahiri and Chandra I also don't have. Not Nahiri. Nissa and Chandra I also don't have. And your claws are into my arm, dog. Your nails, more like. Technically, they're claws. You good girl. Yes, I'm doing a video right now, Domino. Yes, I know you want attention, but I'm doing a video. I gotta keep her occupied at the same time as the. Oh, puppy. What do you just want attention, or do you need to go out? But anyway, so that's Nahiri. How the Planeswalker roster is going to basically, she's making yawning noises. So how the Planeswalker roster is going to basically play out, I have no idea. But we've got plenty of other cards to talk about, so let's talk about the other cards. So, in terms of the Mythics distribution as well, we have about 7 Mythics revealed so far, including Nahiri. We have 2 white, if you want to get technical, 1 red with the Avacyn's other form, and technically 3 white too with Nahiri, 1 red, overall red, and 2 black. So if Sorin gets another card, I'll be interested to see what they're doing with that. If they're upping the Mythic stats for this, or Mythic distribution. 2 blues at the moment. No, actually 1 blue, right? 1 blue? Yeah, I think it's only 1 blue. I take that back. 1 blue. So 1 blue. So Jace has still got a possible blue to go with. And, yeah, those are the only ones, I believe, right now that we got. So we still got all the green Mythics to spoil, all the actual legit red Mythics, and more than likely a multicolor with Arlen. So we still got ways to go with that. But anyway, going on to our new white Mythic. I know, I'm going off the rails a little bit, but Domino got me off my game a little bit there. So, yeah, Descend Upon the Sinful. For generic, 2 white, exile all creatures. It's a Wrath effect. Good, great, fine, exiled, so it's actually more important that way. And has Delirium. It's the Tarmogoyf effect. 4 different card types in your graveyard to get it off. Get an Angel token after that. 4/4, which is pretty solid. It's a very solid card. And At 6 mana, that means late game you will probably have 4 different card types in the graveyard, or you just hold on to it until late game, wrath it, have an angel on the board, wait for them to try to do something, swing in. So good solid card. Now, this one I really dig because I'm a big mill. I have a Grixis mill deck that I love using, and this is like a wet dream kind of card for me. It's Startled Awake. Now, it's a 2 Generic, 2 blue. Target opponent puts the top 13 cards of his or her library into the graveyard. Now, when it's in the graveyard, you can pay 3 generic, 2 blue, and put it on the battlefield transformed. You can only activate this as a sorcery. Now, again, this has sorcery with transform. It's a Startled Awake. Now, when it's transformed, it turns into Persistent Nightmare, a 1/1 nightmare blue creature with Skulk. And for those of you who don't know what Skulk does, again, it's can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, which means unless they got 0/1s or 1/1 chump blockers, this thing's going to get through. And when it deals combat damage to a player, return it to the owner's hand to startle them awake again. So this is a very strong card. I heard some people think about self-milling themselves with it, but they can't because it's an opponent. And let's be clear, in a limited format, this thing is a fucking bomb. Especially in a sealed deck like at the pre-release, this thing is an absolute nightmare. It's a persistent nightmare to boot. Because, a deck normally contains 40 to 45 cards. Some people will go bigger, but normally speaking, it only contains about 40 cards for your minimum. And you draw 7 for your opening hand, 8 sometimes. So right there, you're down to maybe 32 cards. And this card, it's going to take at least a couple turns to get this off. So let's say you luck out in getting it in turn 4. That means 4 cards have already been drawn for your opponent, more or less. 3, minimum 4 at most. So now they're down to maybe anywhere between 29 and 28 cards. You get this card off once, they're down to 15 cards at their, or is it 15? Yeah, at the most they have 16 cards left. And then just wait till another turn, assuming your mana ramp is good, which should be good, generally speaking. Transform it, get a piece of damage off, get it again, and transform it, get it again, and then just next turn just wipe them completely out. This is basically a 2-turn kill if you're playing it right in a sealed deck. Now, in terms of general decks, which run usually about 60 cards minimum, most people like to try to maximize their draw capability and play the minimum card deck. Some people do more. I used to do more. I've learned from that since then. So it's a super scary card. You can get damage in easy. You can ping easy, mill easy. This card is just, the recursion is frightening. Just frightening. Hence the persistent Startled Awake and Persistent Nightmare. And not to mention, the art is just freaking creepy as hell. This is a flavorful knockout on its own, but the art is just horrifying. This little ghost kid haunting this girl above her sheets, and it's like, oh god, okay, it's a persistent, she's startled awake by a nightmare, okay. Then the persistent nightmare of this ghost nightmare kid with a knife going to try to kill her is just, holy crap, that's just frightening as hell. So then we get, moving on, then we get the Anguished Unmaking. Now, this is the Sorin killing Liliana art that we've seen. Now, we don't see Tamiyo or Jace in this art because that's saved for the actual playmat, but the actual art shows Sorin just destroying Avacyn, which is obviously going to be, as they said, they're putting 5 to 6 key plot art, key story moments into the art and onto the cards, and this is clearly one, and it is 1 black, 1 white, 1 generic. Exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. It's an instant. At instant speed, everyone and anyone's going to be playing this card. This thing's probably going to see Modern play, Legacy play. It's probably going to see play in every format you can imagine. At 3 mana, 3 life, it is a bit of, if it's late game, 3 life is definitely going to hurt, but if it's early game, or if you just got late game and still got almost all your life, this card is just going to be something everyone's going to play. And if you've got some sort of life game recursion going on there, then it's just going to be just that much easier to play. I can think of I can think of dozens of ways to just utilize this card with life game, or just what is it? Anguish Blood or Sanguination, anything like that. So this thing is just, and then the flavor, of course, in itself. What Sorin had created Avacyn, so it was a cruelty beyond imagine, a pain beyond description that it fell upon him to end her forever. man, that hurts too for him because he valued Avacyn above everything else. He used Avacyn to bring help, but to protect the people of Israel. Because as ruthless as Soren is as a character, he still actually has a deep caring for his home plane, for the vampires, for his kind, all that, even for the people of Israel, even though they are technically food. He values the balance, and that was what she was. So he's kind of like Batman in many regards, that he wants the greater good, but he's got just so much burden, so dark that he sometimes will go about it maybe the wrong way. So there you go. I want to see fan art now of Soren as Batman. There you go. So there's also a different version of this. I think it's a judge's promo or some sort of promo version of this where you just see his sword right above an angel's head, and it's just dissipating, where he's just a complete badass. And that's the thing too in this storyline, before I get to the other cards, which there are a few more cards to talk about, is that in this storyline, and what are you chewing on, dog? What are you chewing on? Whatever it is you finish. No, you're not finishing. Okay, what? Okay. Come on, Domino. You're crunching on something. She's a freaking little brat. She was being extremely bratty earlier today. But is that despite Nahiri, you're really fucking up Soren's shit, and she is. She's a little. She's fusing people to stone, combining with stone. She's doing all of this. None of the art says that Soren would be at a supreme disadvantage if he fought her. In fact, this art just makes him even more badass. So it's really interesting to see that. Now, moving on, Angel of Deliverance. Now this is a big 6/6 flyer, obviously, but for 6 generic and 2 white, that's 8 mana. That's a hefty cost. But Delirium, when Angel of Deliverance deals damage, if there are 4 more card types in the graveyard among cards you control, exile target creature and opponent controls. So it's a worthwhile ability for Delirium. And at 8 mana, your Delirium cost is probably going to be, it's probably going to get off. But 8 mana is hefty. Even with mana ramp, 8 mana is nothing. 8 mana is nothing to joke about. That's a hefty cost to put in there. So it's not that it's impossible to play. Delirium's probably going to go off, but at that point, it's probably only going to take a couple turns to kill someone with a 6/6 flyer that exiles something when it attacks. No, when it deals damage. So it doesn't even. It's not even that it attacks, it exiles. It deals damage. So it's good, but it's expensive, and I wouldn't expect anyone to play more than 1 copy of it. So there you go. Then we got some of the intro pack rares. There's the red one is an angel. It should be noted that though they spoiled it today, the full intro pack rares, the black and red one, were fully spoiled. Those ones are actually already spoiled when the picture of the intro packs was actually already shown. So I'm not going to bother actually talking about those ones. But okay, Soren's Markov Dreadnought, I believe, is a 3/3 flyer for 4 or 5, 2 black. You can discard a card by paying a mana cost. I believe it's 2 generic, 1 black, and it gets +2/+1/+1 counters. And even better Madness Enabler, because then say like the Markov, I can't remember, the red one. Because though you pay the mana cost instead of just discarding the card, you're getting a permanent boost, and then you can initiate madness. It's good. It's a great late game effect. Then the angel is whenever a source deals damage to you, the angel does 1 damage to that controller of the source of the damage. So there's that. Then moving on to the actually other 2, and there's just one more that got spoiled that's not on the list right now because I'm on MTG Realm because I know it won't make my computer lag. MTG Salvation though is the one who's hey, no, don't get fussy with me. MTG Salvation actually spoiled one other card. It's an artifact that transforms. I'll get to that in a second. But Nephilian Moondrakes, 5 generic, 2 blue, flying. Enters the battlefield, target creature gains flying to the end of turn. It's a 5/5. Getting flying to anything that doesn't fly is always good. Then you can exile this card from your graveyard for 1 mana less. Still 2 blue, 1 mana less, 4. And creatures you control gain flying. So you can give an entire non-flying field flying if it's in the graveyard, which is where I feel this card's going to be ending up a lot of time with self-milling being involved. But it's still 5/5 is nothing to sneeze at for a flying for 7 mana. It's still a solid card for limited, sealed, good solid card. Then the last one, the white one, again 7 mana. These things are expensive. Soul Swallower, the worm with Delirium is also one of the intro packs rares. It's the cheapest among them. It's the easiest to play and probably one of the most effective, I think, in terms of a late game strategy. So, basically it's a Spirit Knight, right on, kind of like a Ghost Rider, but Droskal Cavalry, 5 generic, 2 white, 4/4, so it's even weaker. Whenever another Spirit enters the battlefield under your control, gain 2 life. You can pay 3 generic, 1 white, put a 1/1 flying Spirit token into flying into the battlefield. So, I mean, yeah, you can give yourself Pump and you give yourself Duders, but at this point, it's a 7 mana late game. This is later game kind of cards right now. These big cards, unless you're using Nahiri's ability, these kind of cards aren't that great. And late game is okay, but really you'd only be using the ability for the tokens, and then hopefully you have some sort of token pumper like they did in the original Innistrad. So I don't know. Something about this one just doesn't suit me as well as the other one. Getting the flying invasion is much better than just putting the 1/1 white token with flying, which at most is probably just going to be a chump blocker at that point. Because if it's 7 mana late game, your opponent's probably going to have some dudes that are just going to wreck your shit that are worse than this guy. This guy is not that good for a late game card. Then the last one is now my computer may lag a bit when I do this, but I'm going to try to do it, and hopefully my computer will not lag. So, just briefly to watch it. Alright, so let's see here now. And Domino's getting fuzzy. I'm going to have to put her out in a little bit. So, we have Neglected Heirloom, costs 1 generic, equip for 1, gets +1/+1. So right there, it's Leon Scimitar. It's better than that. When equipped creature transform Neglected Heirloom. So it's very important that you're using this on an equipped creature, because then you get a free +3/+3 and first strike that equips for 3. Now the equipment for 3 I've heard people kind of harp on a little bit, but that's not where the power of this card lies. The power of this card lies in the transform ability. If you're using werewolves, you're using anything that's going to transform, it's a solid card, solid pump spell, and once it transforms, it's going to be a very big, very powerful. Equip it on to Avacyn. There you go. Equip it on to Avacyn. She's going to be a 5/5. When she transforms, she'll be a 9/8. So she's going to wreck shit then. So, right, and it's also interesting to note that I believe, if I'm looking at that right, that is the sword that Nahiri is holding in her picture. So I think that's a plot-relevant artifact. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Sorry I was a little scattered in this video. The dog just kind of is being a bit bratty, and now she's trying to just go for stuff, so I'm going to have to put her out. But thanks for watching, though. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll review it at some point. Supergirl's tonight. I'm going to miss it again. I'm probably going to have to watch it tomorrow. And throughout the week, I'll have Magic videos. So, and all my other stuff is normal. No Muppet videos because the Muppets aren't back yet. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.